Should I quit my job to study for the LSAT and work on applications? I'm not saying don't quit your job, because I'm a pretty big fan of people quitting their jobs, because there's a million other things out there you could do. But I don't think the move is to go all in on law school. Certainly not to go all in on LSAT prep. Hello and welcome to episode 550 of the Thinking LSAT podcast. I'm Nathan Fox. With me is Ben Olson. We are the co-founders of lsatdemon.com and the LSAT Demon Daily podcast. We're going to start today with an email from Alyssa, who says she is randomly doing bad on LR.
Hi, Nathan and Ben. I've been studying for the LSAT for around 7 months now, and I've noticed very good improvement in my practice sections. I'll usually get 4 to 5 wrong. However, there are always random times that I'll practice and get 9 to 10 wrong. Sometimes I'll get 4 to 5 wrong for a week straight and then get 9 to 10 wrong the next day, or for 2 days in a row, then get back to 4 to 5 wrong. It's really weird because the sections could be around the same difficulty and there is no particular question type that I'm getting wrong. Why does this happen? I understand variance is normal, but it seems like a big gap. Do I take a break for like a week and then go back? I don't notice myself rushing or doing anything different when I do worse, but I also don't want to keep burning the material, doing badly, and making random mistakes. Any advice would be appreciated.
I'm not sure if Alyssa is talking about number of wrong answers on questions attempted or number of wrong answers in the section. Let's start there. What do you think?
I think Alyssa is talking about the entire section.
I think so too, because if she's talking about wrong answers on questions attempted, her accuracy is way, way too low.
Absolutely, yeah.
You should be missing no more than 1 or maybe 2 of the questions you attempt, right? I mean, preferably 0 or 1, preferably 0, obviously. But if you make 1 mistake every once in a while, okay. If you make 2 or more mistakes all the time, that's really bad.
Yeah.
Because it means that you're settling for too many 50-50s. If she's talking about the whole section, though, I still think her accuracy is probably pretty low. How many questions do we think she's doing if she's getting 4 to 5 wrong? These are her good days. I kind of feel like she's finishing the whole section.
She's probably finishing the whole section. Otherwise, she might be talking about that. Or you might not put so much weight on the 4 to 3 or 4 of the questions you got wrong because, yeah, you just guessed on them.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Alyssa really needs to focus on accuracy. And so I don't want Alyssa to take this the wrong way, but Alyssa, your good days aren't good enough. I think that's really the problem. She's like worried about her bad days. But the truth is that even on her good days, she's compromising accuracy for speed. She's like finishing the whole section, or she's almost finishing the whole section. And that's introducing a ton of randomness into her results because she's not actually solving those questions down to one and only one answer. She's settling for a lot of invalid shortcuts. Maybe she's falling in love with A and picking it without really reading B, C, D, or E. Sometimes she gets it right. Other times, sorry, there was an answer buried B, C, D, or E that turned out to be correct. And Alyssa didn't think about it enough, so she missed that one this time. Alternatively, she doesn't think she's going too fast. Especially on her good days, she doesn't think she's going too fast. But the truth is, she's like skimmed. Sometimes she gets lucky, sometimes she gets unlucky. She settles for a lot of 50-50s. Sometimes she gets lucky, sometimes she gets unlucky. So I think that's what she really needs to think about, is that her understanding is what matters, right? Not her section score on any given day. It's her understanding of just one question at a time. So I think she should focus back on accuracy on questions attempted instead of just focusing on how many points did I get in the section.
I agree. Some other things here, right? Notice that she says Sometimes I'll get 4 to 5 wrong for a week straight, then get 9 to 10 wrong the next day or for 2 days in a row. Okay, so she's
She's
clearly
doing
taking
sections every day.
every day.
Yeah.
So by finishing the section, you're assuming that you're at a place that you're not at yet. By doing a section every day, you're presumably ignoring drilling or not doing enough drilling,
Yeah.
which would help you practice
Yeah.
focusing on one question at a time. The other thing is, I mean, this is just a general issue, but notice she's focused on the numbers. And even if someone were 100% focused on accuracy, 100% focused on, alternating between one time section one day and drilling the next, when you have these fluctuations, which will happen, the question isn't why did I do worse on this day generally? The question is, what exactly do I make of the questions that I got wrong? Because that reveals to you why you did worse on that day. If you review them and you're like, oh, I just wasn't reading carefully enough, then yeah, maybe something about that's okay. So you weren't focused or you weren't ready for this section or whatever.
Yeah.
But if you review them and you're like, wow, that's actually kind of confusing. I just didn't really know how to interpret that until I worked through it. Well, then that's a logical misunderstanding. And okay, there's your problem.
Yeah. Doing section after section after section after section is not going to lead to understanding, or at least it's not going to lead to understanding nearly as quickly as reviewing the mistakes you're making. I mean, think about what kind of a burden of review is involved. If you missed 4 to 5 questions, okay, so there's 4 to 5 that you missed, and it might take 30 minutes each for you to like wrap your head around it. Watch videos, read written explanations, write a thoughtful question to the ask button. I mean, that should be your number one priority, is to figure out, like find that click of understanding where you know exactly why the right answer is right and you know exactly why the wrong answer is wrong. And you feel it. Those are on the few that she missed, the 4 to 5 that she missed. But if the 4 to 5 she missed indicates that there's another 4 to 5 that she kind of half guessed and got right. So she didn't even understand, she didn't understand those. That's a missed opportunity to learn. And on the days where she misses 9 or 10, well, okay, so there's the 9 or 10 you missed, and then there's another 9 or 10 that you didn't really probably understand. So you could be getting very little out of you're putting in all the work. It's just tons of smoke and no fire if you're not, investigating those mistakes deeply enough to really find that click of understanding.
It seems like she almost intuitively recognizes that.
Exactly. Yeah,
She says, I don't want to keep burning the material.
So
Yeah.
stop burning the material.
Mhm.
It's not, she thinks, oh, if I just take a week off and then come back and do the exact same thing. No, I don't think you need the week off. I just think you need to stop doing so much volume and instead actually learn from the mistakes. You're making tons of mistakes. Those mistakes are huge opportunities. And you're not really learning from them. Thank you for writing in, Alyssa. I hope that's helpful. Check out this next thing, Ben. This was in the New York Times newsletter. They just had this little blurb. Today's number, $14,199.
Okay.
You want to read it?
Yeah, it says that's roughly how much money per household American millennial homeowners spent on renovations last year. Okay. So that's an average. And then it continues. It is more than any other generation, even though millennials don't own a majority of homes. What is the total quantity of millennials who own homes have to do with an average?
Dude, it pisses me off so much. I can't handle it. It just makes me angry. I'm sorry, to all of our listeners and students, but you are going to have less and less respect for the major institutions of our world the better you get at careful reading and just basic common sense logic. I was already pissed at this point, right? I clicked into the article and I took a small peek at it. The
Yeah,
article's
yeah.
called "Why Are We Spending So Much Money on Home Renovations?" But this, they just pull this number out, this little factoid,
Yeah.
14,199.
Yeah.
But then they're trying, they're and it's the linked bit that says it's more than any other generation. So they're like highlighting this idea. Oh, millennials spend so much money on home renovations. They spend more, Ben. Millennials spend more than any other generation. And then then comma, and then they acknowledge even though millennials don't own a majority of homes, which obviously they don't. And so it's like they're making it out to be this like huge deal or this like huge trend or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all it really is like, well, they cherry picked, okay, what generation has the highest average expense on home renovations?
Yeah.
And by the way, like, why might that be the case? Oh, well, because millennials are like in the part of their life now, right? Millennials are like in their 30s and they're like starting families and getting accumulating some capital and oh yeah, no shit, they're adding on another bedroom or whatever. Anyway, just a side note.
Thanks, New York Times. Yeah.
I'll keep highlighting these when I see them, but it really is embarrassing. Like I don't know if it's just data illiteracy or lack of common sense or I don't know what it is. The headlines just frequently don't match the article at all, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Next one is from Ryan, who says he is stuck in the low 160s.
I feel like I'm trying my best to study for the LSAT the demon way. I study for 2 hours every day with no distractions. I slowly and carefully read the passage, analyze possible flaws or inferences. Once I feel like I understand the argument being made, I ignore the clock and try to only focus on accuracy. And when I get questions wrong, I engage in deep review until I can explain in my own words why X is the right answer, why Y is the wrong answer, why I chose Y, and how to avoid making the same mistake. Wow, that's a long ass sentence.
That is quite a long sentence, yeah.
Okay, well, I'm glad that you're trying to do everything the way that we think is optimal. Ryan, did you want to say anything?
2 hours a day is a lot.
It is a lot, although that could work for some people.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people have it in their schedule.
Yeah.
Ryan really wants it. Okay. So how's it going?
After 8 months of consistent studying, Ryan continues, my score has not budged. I'm still in the low 160s and getting most level 3 and 4 questions wrong. I have no idea what to do at this point. I must be doing something wrong, but I don't know what. I started in the mid 140s.
Yeah.
Wait, I'm mildly confused by that because you just said my score is not budged, but now
I
you're in
know.
the low 160s.
Yeah.
Okay, so it sounds like a 15-point improvement. Maybe not in the last 8 months. I'm trying to understand what you're saying. And I refuse to believe that I've reached the limits of potential. Semicolon. I know I can go higher. What advice do you have? I agree that you are have probably not reached the limits of your potential. My guess is the problem stems from the way Ryan is reviewing. Ryan says I engage in deep review, but I think review is the one place where a lot of people can trick themselves into a false sense of understanding.
Mm. Especially if you're so focused on answer choices. Notice he doesn't. And I
Yeah.
mean, maybe that's our fault. It must be our fault. He's our student. So, we have to own it. But we say all the time how important it is. Understand why the right answer is right, understand why the wrong answer is wrong.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
that's based on the record.
A
So
proper understanding of the passage. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
based on the passage, if they made an argument, what was their conclusion? What evidence did they offer in favor of that conclusion? Can you make common sense objections to their logic? And that's the part that maybe Ryan's skipping. I think you could talk yourself into understanding if you read the written explanations or you watch the video explanations, and if you're really just focusing on the answer choice part, you can talk yourself into, these guys are pretty convincing when they say why X is right and why Y is wrong.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. In fact, if you have a mistaken understanding of the passage or even the question, and then you try to make sense of the right answer or figure out why the wrong answer is wrong,
Yeah.
you may be tying yourself in knots to try to make that answer choice wrong. And I've seen that in class, right? People are like, oh, okay. So B is wrong for this reason. You're like, no. It's not wrong for that reason, because in fact, the
Oh,
correct
yeah.
answer says the same thing. And they're like, oh,
Yeah.
you're missing this key part of the passage. It's like cooking, right? Sometimes if you leave out sugar when you're cooking cookies, doesn't matter if you get everything else right. It tastes like shit. So you gotta understand the passage, the question, and the answers.
Yeah. I think that's probably what's going on here. Ryan seems genuinely engaged in the process, but the reason why we're so aggressive when we attack the passage is that if you attack the passage, that's like you see the whole battlefield. You know, so it's in the first rays of dawn, and you're like assessing the battlefield, and you can see everything. You can see where the troops are. You can see where oh boy, that bridge is going to be a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
When
Mm-hmm.
these two armies, I don't know exactly what's going to happen. I don't know
Yeah.
how these two armies exactly are gonna, but I can tell you that right there is going to turn out to be the critical, like that's the crux of the matter.
Yeah. Or there might be multiple like weak points, right? But you're like, okay, I could see a problem brewing over there with the bridge or over there with that fallen tree. Like
Yeah.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
He does say that he's slowly and carefully reading the passage, analyzing possible flaws or inferences. But then in the review state, I'm not sure he's contemplating whether he actually correctly analyzed the battlefield. You know what I mean? He might have been like, "Oh yeah, this is where the battle's going to take place." But in retrospect, you missed it. You missed the fact that
Hmm.
there was this, you know, what about this part over here?
Yeah, there is one other concern I have. We're just trying to decipher your email,
Yeah.
Ryan. So this could be totally off base, but based on what some other people have done, when you say analyze possible flaws, sometimes I see people, yeah, look, we want to aggressively attack the argument,
Yeah.
but sometimes I almost feel like they're making up flaws. You're like, no, that's not a problem because it's actually just a premise and you just have to accept it as true,
Yeah.
even if it's ridiculous. So I wonder if Ryan's getting distracted there by things that aren't actually problematic. The last thing is just the question itself.
Yeah. Like realizing that they're asking you different questions about that battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it's like when you get to the actual question, that's like, okay, now you realize whose team you're on.
Mm-hmm.
You saw the two armies and where they were camped overnight, and you knew the battle
Mm-hmm.
was going to be the next day.
Mm-hmm.
You saw where the likely choke points were, and maybe it's not just one, by the way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's like, well, it could be that bridge, it could be this forest part over here. This is where the battles are likely to be fought.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get the question, and it's like, well, okay, you're supposed to be strengthening this side, or you're supposed to be weakening that side. Or all we're asking you to do is to describe the position of one side or both sides, or describe the battlefield or whatever, right? It's not the same thing every time. They're going to ask you different questions about that battlefield.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you're right that Ryan's not he doesn't at least say in this short email, he doesn't say much about the questions. And I'm not really talking about question types. I'm just talking about answering whatever question it is that they ask you.
Hmm.
All I know for sure, Ryan, is that the learning is going to happen one question at a time. It's about thorough review of your mistakes. But I am pretty confident that you're not doing a good enough job predicting the answers. I don't think you're attacking the battlefield well enough. And then that's making your review inefficient because you're so focused on the answer choices that you're not realizing, oh, I could have, there was a huge shortcut here if I would have done a better job at attacking that battlefield in the first place.
All right. This next email is from Mitchell, and Mitchell put, along with his name, 4.0 UGPA, undergraduate GPA, and a 168 LSAT. And I actually kind of love that because I think that's how
me.
the law schools. Oh, you did that. Oh, okay. I thought that was Mitchell. Either way, that's how the law schools look at people, right? You're
I
basically
pulled that
numbers.
information out of the email and I
Yeah.
suggested to producer Jacob, thank you, Jacob. I suggested to producer Jacob that we should start doing that because I think we might read these emails more efficiently if we knew who we were talking to.
Okay.
And I
Great.
100% agree with you. There's no doubt that that's exactly what the law schools are doing. I mean, we've had multiple different schools tell us explicitly, hey, we have buckets for scholarships and they're based exclusively on LSAT and GPA.
Yep.
And
These two numbers.
we know from admissions data, it's just very obvious when you look at the scatter plot of who gets admitted and who gets denied. Law schools are extremely interested in their median LSAT and their median GPA. And they're making, they won't admit it to you, but the numbers are going to trump almost everything else. And they are going to be the first thing that they care about. Sure,
100%.
sure. Some old professor, who happens to be on the admissions committee, the first thing they look at might be the personal statement. Yeah, that's fine. But you wouldn't have gotten to that stage of the review if you hadn't
With the
already
wrong
been
numbers.
filtered onto their desk by the numbers.
Yeah.
I just don't believe them when they claim that they're getting 8,000 applications and they're really actually reading the personal statement of all 8,000 of them. No, you're not. It would be dumb to do that. Okay, so, yeah, Mitchell.
Yeah, and his subject line is asking for more money when they're already giving enough? Question mark.
Enough.
We might need to reframe
That's
how
not
you
how
define
money.
enough.
That's
Yeah.
just not how money works. I mean, sorry, that's not how. There is no such thing. Okay, so hi, Ben and Nathan. My decision to attend the University of Utah this fall is pretty much already made. Ooh, you're saying that out loud? Don't tell them that. I hope they're not listening to the podcast.
Yeah.
Mitchell says, I have a 4.0 UGPA and a 168 LSAT. They're offering me a scholarship that leaves me paying only about $1,000 per year. Convenient. Allows them to tell people that they don't give full ride scholarships.
Totally.
Or don't give very many, because, oh yeah, well, we give 30% of the class. Just short of a full ride.
Yeah, here's some stats for you. 24 students got full tuition scholarships last year at the University of Utah. 47% or 144 students got more than half. So this offer falls into that bucket.
The more than half bucket. Yeah. Just
Although
a few
they give
dollars.
a lot of stipends. They give 9% of the class, 28 students get stipends.
Yeah, and another 8% of the class gets full tuition and full fees.
Yeah.
So what that means is, this Mitchell said, it's enough. Okay. I mean, they are giving 17% of the class more than that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you decide it's enough for you, okay. I mean, but their median LSAT's 166. Mitchell's a 168. Their median GPA is a 3.87. Mitchell's a 4.0.
Yeah.
It starts to look like a low ball, at least based on last year's numbers.
Yeah.
I mean, I can guarantee you one thing. They're trying to offer you the least that you will accept.
That's always the case.
That's always the
Yeah.
case. If you go buy a car, they're not trying to do you favors. They're trying to offer you the car at the most you will pay.
Imagine you're signing for the car and they're like, actually,
Yeah.
we would have accepted 5,000 instead of 6,000. So to be honest, let's
We'll
knock
put,
it down.
yeah, we'll give you the real price.
Yeah.
It's just not happening.
Yeah.
So anyway, Mitchell, you could be alongside. By the way, we'll link to this tuition roll call page at lsatdemon.com. We'll link to this page so that everybody can see the visualization. If you want to click into the show notes, you can see the visualization of this. But yeah, he's there with those additional 47% of the class who are paying less than half tuition. And they could have exactly the same offer that Mitchell has.
Well, given the fees are $1,100, he says 1,000, but I I wouldn't be shocked at all if they just full on just said, yeah, we'll give you a quote full tuition scholarship.
Well, that's
You
what
just have to
schools
cover
do.
fees. Yeah.
That's what schools do in order to game the ABA reporting requirements.
And
Because
still sound like they're giving you a great offer.
nope,
Yeah.
yeah, there's nothing stopping them from putting, and we've seen schools do this. We know schools do this. It's a fact. Not that, the U does this, but schools do this.
Mm-hmm.
They send out letters to applicants saying, we're giving you a full tuition scholarship. They don't even have to say it doesn't cover the fees. But if it doesn't cover the fees, then they will report you as someone who is getting a more than half scholarship.
Hmm.
The ABA actually requires them to do that. And I think they think that they're doing students a favor, applicants a favor.
Yeah.
But I believe that definitional little twist there has the exact opposite of the intended effect. Yeah, they should be making schools acknowledge how much tuition assistance they're actually giving.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because I don't think the schools want to. They don't want to have to tell next year's class, oh, yeah, we actually gave more than half of the class full tuition scholarships. According to this data, right, Ben, 9% are on the record as getting a stipend, 8% are on the record as getting full tuition, and another 47% are in the more than half bucket. That's a total of 64% of the class that could have gotten a letter that says, we're giving you a full tuition scholarship. That could be 64% of the class who paid not one penny of
For
tuition.
tuition. Yeah.
As long as they paid some fees, they're reported as more than half. So anyway, just to put that, put Mitchell's situation more in perspective.
Yeah, before we keep reading, I want to say one more thing that surprises me. So I put Mitchell's numbers into the estimator. I put in a 168. I put in a 4.0. Both numbers well above their medians. So I was expecting the estimator to just full on estimate a stipend because 9% of the class is getting a stipend and he's above on both. But actually the estimator predicts that he's in the top seat. He's at the very top of the more than half bucket.
Yeah.
So
Well,
his offer matches what the estimator estimated, but it's bizarre to me. It's like, okay, well, what numbers
I think I can
Utah?
explain it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, because the more than half bucket is so big, 64% of the class
Mm-hmm.
could be on a full tuition scholarship, even though many of them, as discussed, are reported as more than half, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Half the class has to be above their median LSAT. Half the class has to be above their median GPA.
Yeah.
And it's possible that more than half the class is getting an offer at or better than Mitchell's offer.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't surprise me that, his numbers they're damn good.
Mm-hmm.
But surely Utah has some people in the 170s. Surely Utah has some people with GPAs above 4.0. And maybe those are where the stipends and full tuition, actual full tuition plus fees, go to.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I'm pulling up the 509 right now, and the 75th percentile UGPA, 3.94. The 75th percentile LSAT is 168. Hmm.
Yeah, okay. So 25% of the class with a higher LSAT or at
Yeah,
or above Mitchell's
his.
LSAT.
Yeah, and that
Uh,
25% more than covers the, what is it that we got right now? 17% that get full tuition, no
yeah,
stipends.
a
Yeah.
couple more LSAT points might have made a few $1,000s worth of difference here.
Potentially even more depending on what stipends they give. Who knows? Yeah.
Yeah. Mitchell's email continues. He says,
Yep.
this offer far outweighs all my other scholarship offers, plus Utah seems like a good fit, so I'm planning on going there. At that cost, I'll be able to pay out of pocket and avoid debt. My question is, how does one go about asking for even more money when they're already offering a great scholarship? I'm going there regardless, but I was wondering if there was some way I could squeeze that extra $1,000 per year out of them and potentially get a full ride. I don't want to seem greedy in the eyes of admissions by asking for more when I don't have any better offers elsewhere, except for a few low-ranked schools I applied to as safeties. How can I go about this process? I'll take all the help we can get in starting out law school. And we do have a producer's note here that says applicants on lsd.law, lawschooldata.law,
Mm-hmm.
have reported stipends of up to $5,000 in previous cycles. So maybe $6,000 more that Mitchell could have gotten. Do you think renegotiation is going to work in this case?
It could. It sounds like, I mean, we just saw that 25% of the class has a higher GPA, right? Or up to 25% of the class has a higher GPA
Higher
than
LSAT.
Mitchell. Sorry, higher LSAT.
Yeah.
So, it's very possible that they've given them the offer that they know that they can offer.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Uh, we've had law school reps tell us that they put people in buckets based on LSAT and GPA, and that it's a fairly fixed thing. And that in itself is a negotiation strategy. Saying we don't negotiate is a
yeah.
negotiation strategy.
Mm-hmm.
Mitchell is putting himself in a pretty bad spot here by declaring up front that he's definitely going to go there no matter what. He also didn't apply. It looks like he didn't maybe apply broadly enough to get like actual competitive offers. Where's
With
your offer from
the U.
BU?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and he further says, and this is the really silly part. This is the part this is where he can actually learn something from us, I think. He says, I don't want to seem greedy in the eyes of admissions.
Hmm. Yeah.
What?
No, it's not greedy. It's understanding your value.
Yeah. And
Self-respect.
yeah, it's knowing your worth, Mitchell. And who gives a shit what these people think of you anyway? You're never
They
going to
don't
talk to these
think.
people ever again. I mean, they're working in the admissions office. Once you're
Yeah.
admitted, once you start school, they're not part of your legal education anymore. And their whole job is to like try to get as many students as they can paying as much money as they are willing to pay. Like they're carrying on simultaneous negotiations with hundreds of other applicants.
Oh, 100%. So they're not going to remember you, but also, well, the one way they will remember you is if you ask in a rude or otherwise,
Yeah.
negative way. If you're condescending, disrespectful. Look, what's more important here is how you ask, not that you don't ask.
Yeah. I mean, another way of saying that is you should definitely ask. Lawyers ask.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they'll remember you if you convince them that it's worth it to give you that extra money. They'll respect you so much more if you actually get what you want. They'll value you more if you win here. And if they tell you no, they're not going to give one shit that they told. They're going to go, that's fine. He asked, we said no.
Yeah, they're not going to remember it. By the way, what do you think about this idea? The June LSAT registration deadline is in a month.
I don't hate it if his practice test scores indicate he can do better, because then you're like a credible threat to actually walk away.
Yeah.
I mean, the car dealer is going to tell you that the price is the price is the price. They've given you their best offer. That's it. And they're going to wait and see if you'll sign.
They're going to tell you too that other people are interested and they've been hounding
Oh, yeah.
them. Oh, really? They've been hounding you? Why the fuck haven't you sold it yet?
Yeah, exactly. But the second you actually walk away, everything changes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, you could, by signing up for the June LSAT, you might start to look a little uncomfortable in your seat. It might start, it's like you're checking your watch and you're looking to get out the door and you're losing
Mm-hmm.
interest in the
Mm-hmm.
deal.
Mm-hmm.
For now, I would just say, Mitchell, this is a fine offer, not a great offer. If you walked away from this offer, I think you would get at least as good next year.
Yeah.
And if you're willing to walk away, that's probably the best thing for increasing your chances of actually getting the few $1,000s that are left on the table.
Yeah.
I'm not saying definitely walk away. It is only a few $1,000s. And maybe you should just ask and they say no, and fine, you move on with your life. But I wouldn't hate walking away, and especially if you get a better LSAT. Geez, if you get a better LSAT, you're a really good candidate for like full ride plus stipend at,
So many schools.
yeah, including BYU, which should be the obvious one here in
Mm-hmm.
Utah. But also,
Yeah.
what about tons of other great schools in the Mountain and West? I mean, there's all kinds of different competitors. A few more LSAT points, and they might actually roll out the red carpet for you.
Yeah.
Next free class coming up is with me. It's Wednesday, March 25th, 1 p.m. Eastern. And that class is going to be an all levels class covering some reading comprehension and covering some logical reasoning. Hope to see you there. All you need is an LSAT Demon free account. Go to lsatdemon.com/free. Again, that's Wednesday, March 25th, 1 p.m. Eastern, for a free LSAT class with me. Hope to see you there.
Great.
Next one, Ben, is from Anonymous, asking, should I quit my job to study for the LSAT and work on applications?
Okay. Wow. Um, Hi, Demon Team. I started studying for the LSAT a couple months ago and have been a big fan of the podcast and the Demon platform. A bit about me: I graduated a few years ago and have been working in finance since. I've decided to change careers and apply to law school for the fall of 2027. My current scores are in the mid 160s, and I'm aiming for a 175 plus. I also have a strong GPA for top schools. Just PSA for anyone out there. We'd love to know the exact GPA,
Yeah,
because
just
there's
give
a
us the
huge
number.
difference. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a huge difference between a 3.9 and a 3.95. It can put
Oh,
you
yeah.
above the median or below the median at top schools. Anyways, I'm considering taking a few months off work to focus on LSAT prep and law school applications. My hope is to take the June LSAT and, if needed, retake it in August or September. Because I work a demanding full-time job, I'm concerned that 1, my June prep may not be as strong as it could be, and 2, if June doesn't go well, I'd be juggling full-time work, LSAT prep, and applications at the same time, which could lead to weaker results.
Let me interrupt you. If you're ready for June, then you take June. If you're not ready for June, then you don't take June. If you do take June, you need to plan on also taking August and September. Not, oh, I'll take it if the score doesn't come back where I want it. Law schools only care about your highest score. You get multiple swings at it here. If you hit a 400-foot home run on your first pitch, you don't like quit the home run derby. You take your next swing, and maybe you hit a 450-foot home run on your next swing.
Yeah.
And so your plan should be June, August, and September.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if June doesn't go the way you want it to go, that doesn't mean anything necessarily about your prep. It's just that that was just one bad day, one bad swing, one bad pitch. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to have to double down on my studying or whatever between June and August. You
Mm-hmm.
need to think of this more in terms of, okay, it's a long run process. I'm going to take June, August, September, probably also going to take October and November for that matter, because only my best out of those 5 will count. Now, if you get your 175 or whatever, maybe you stop. But certainly don't just settle for a 172
Yeah.
if you're
Yeah.
capable of more. You're currently already in the mid 160s and you barely just started. So, yeah, I mean, you should be looking for your 175 or higher, but that's not going to just guaranteed happen on the first attempt or second or third attempt. So, multiple bites at it, slow and steady, a little bit of studying every day, now and after the June test, and probably after the August test. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Oh, this is anonymous. Anonymous continues, for context, I currently spend 10 to 15 hours a week studying, but I feel that a big chunk of these hours is not high quality since I'm tired and often stressed with work. My question, would quitting my job for a few months to focus on the LSAT and applications look bad to admissions committees? I've heard advice not to quit your job or to study for the LSAT because it can signal an inability to handle pressure.
Who
But I'm
told you
not sure
that?
if that seriously, but I'm not sure if that advice mainly applies to people earlier in their careers. Curious to hear your perspective. Thanks so much. Okay, there's so much here, right? Like, thank you for writing in, first of
Yeah.
all.
Yeah. Thank you.
But you're this is so common. You're worried about a speck of dust on your, pristine dining arrangement when it comes to applying, but you just got to focus on the things that actually matter, the plates and the silverware, and the plate is your LSAT and the
Yeah.
silverware is your GPA. I don't know, like, or the food, right? Actually, you don't even
Yeah.
need to worry about the
Yeah. Yeah.
dining ware, but it's a terrible analogy. The point is that people get obsessed with things that look bad to admissions. It's like, what looks bad is a bad LSAT score. What
Right.
looks bad is a bad GPA.
Right.
So, um, you have a job. It does sound like it's very demanding. So maybe that's going to slow down how quickly you can prepare for the LSAT. But this gets back to the issue of like, okay, do you need to start in the fall of 2027? If you just break up this process and focus on first, what do I need to do to get a good LSAT score? And then once you finally get there, look forward to applications. Like, you're trying to crunch it all together. And I think that's what's creating the stress. And yeah.
I mean, I would also say your your LSAT and your GPA, that is your application.
Mm-hmm.
The other shit is nothing for a lawyer. It's nothing.
It's going to be so easy too. Once you have that score on record, you're just going to feel immense relief and just, okay, knock out a personal statement. Got it.
Write a page in, yeah, when you're not feeling in the mood for LSAT studying, write a terrible first draft of a page and a half personal statement. If you can't write a terrible first draft of a personal statement in a couple hours, I don't think you can do it in a couple days. It's just not that hard. You're writing your story and you're trying to write a shitty first draft. Okay, so do it. You just get it done. When you're not, if you don't have the energy, or if you think, oh, this is, I'm tired, I'm stressed, I don't really want to put the focus into LSAT. Okay, can you write a shitty personal statement?
Mm-hmm.
It's not that hard. And you use that same personal statement for all the schools. You do need to register for the Credential Assembly Service. You need to request your letters of recommendation because that's out of your hands and you got to wait for your recommenders. And that you might want to start earlier. But this idea that you're going to quit your job to study for the LSAT and work on your applications full time, I don't think you can productively study for the LSAT more than, geez, 3-4 hours max.
Yeah, 3-4 max.
And there is not 3 or 4 hours a day worth of applications work to be done. That's your that would be a huge inefficient waste of time to be trying to spend that much time for
I
months.
the thing that we're talking about right now, right, is doing these things in parallel, and a lot of people can. But I like the purity of just saying, "Hey, focus on the LSAT," because like you're saying, the application stuff can happen quickly, and I think it becomes, I don't know, the perfect becomes the enemy of
Yeah.
amazing,
The
because now
LSAT,
you're trying to do both and you're trying to get them right, and it's like, dude, just let it go. You can tackle it quickly later.
yeah,
You
the LSAT
need
is
the application. Yeah.
the application.
Yeah, that's the bottom line. Yep.
The LSAT is the application. Maybe that's
Mhm.
the title of this episode, because
Yeah.
your GPA is already set in stone. So for you, Anonymous, the LSAT is your application.
Mhm.
All the other stuff is going to be a piece of cake. And if you study now, if you put in an hour a day, you're doing 10 to 15 hours a week. Maybe that's too much. Why don't you just do an hour a day?
Mhm.
Keep your job, do one good hour instead of two shitty hours, 1 hour a day of high quality LSAT prep. I don't see why you're not going to be ready for the June LSAT. And if you do crush the June LSAT, then you've got all the time in the world for applications. But even if you do end up taking the August or September LSAT, you're not going to have to do more than that 1 hour a day of prep. If you start now and just do an hour a day, I think you're taking June, August, and September and getting your applications in on time. It's just not that hard. I mean, law school basically has a common app, right? They might ask you a few additional questions. You might have to do a little bit of jumping through hoops for individual applications, especially in the top 14. But all that is irrelevant compared to a couple more LSAT points.
I agree. One other thing I want to say about the job thing is that people almost always talk about quitting. What about just cutting back your hours? And I cannot, I almost already hear it from Anonymous, like, oh, I can't, in my job, I can't cut back time. Okay, well, think about a world in which you could. Just imagine a world in which you could go home an hour earlier. Like, how would that happen? Is there some way to make that happen? Because you'd be shocked about how many people, right, just think, oh, that can't be done. And then someone else in the office fucking does it.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Like you just took yourself out of the negotiation because you preemptively said, no, that's not possible. And you don't even ask or try to figure out some way to come to some solution that would reduce how much time you spend working.
I agree. I mean, if they value you, then surely they would work with you. And if they
Even just
won't
a
work
little.
with you, then
Yeah.
maybe they don't value you. Well, then why are you valuing them so much? You could either just, I mean, you could almost quiet quit here, right?
Mm.
Just just start half-assing your job until they fire you. I mean, because like if they're, why would you accept this proposition that like they're going to work you 60 hours a week? And if you come to them and tell them, hey, look, I want to work 40 hours a week. I mean, that might be a pay cut, but you're talking about quitting your job entirely.
Well, what if you land at 50? You just saved yourself
Yeah.
10 hours a week.
Yeah. Yeah. And, and who knows? I mean, like maybe there's a pay cut. Maybe there's a move to part-time. Maybe
Yeah.
there's whatever. Maybe they just realize, oh, wow, we've been mistreating this guy.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't quit your job because I'm a pretty big fan of people quitting their jobs. Like if you feel like you should probably quit, you should, because there's a million other things out there you could do. But I don't think the move is to go all in on law school. Certainly not to go all in on LSAT prep
Yeah.
for reasons previously discussed. The other thing you have to think about, Anonymous, is if you apply this fall, you're not going to start law school until next fall. So you're not talking about quitting your job for the next 3 months. You're talking about quitting your job for the next 15 months.
Yeah, unless you can get the job back, but that's interesting too. If you have
Yeah.
that flexibility, then you must be able to also come up with other solutions. Yeah.
Yeah, right. I don't think you need to go on sabbatical or whatever. I think you could just renegotiate with your current job and say, hey, this is too much. Or maybe just take our advice and realize that you don't need to study 10 to 15 hours a week, that you could study more like 7 hours a week. One high quality hour a day is better than you think it is. All right. Thank you, Anonymous. What's next?
Jake, subject misleading rankings.
Jake says, it's a little misleading and unfair the way you talk about US News and World Report rankings.
Okay.
While there may be 17 schools in the T14 period, no one in the legal world would consider WashU or Vandy, for example, on the same level as the historic T14s.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, I think that literally can't be true. Surely there are people, including everybody who's in marketing at WashU and Vandy, but also probably tons of students at WashU and Vandy, also tons of alums at WashU and Vandy.
Firms that are
Also,
hiring from them. Yeah. They're not.
yeah, well, yeah, and no one in the legal world would consider. Look, I'm not saying that these schools are Harvard, but you know, to the extent if these schools stay in the top 14, they're going to be telling the world constantly, hey, we're in the top 14. Also, WashU has one of the best median LSATs and one of the best median GPAs of any school in the T14. So who's to say that they're not as good as legacy schools in the T14? I mean, it's funny because it, the other side of that is I do actually think that the rankings are pretty much bullshit. So I don't know. Maybe we need to read more here because Jake
Yes.
continues.
Yeah.
In addition, schools that are not participating in the US News and World Report are clearly being punished. For example, Columbia keeps moving higher, but practically is significantly better in the legal world than UVA, Penn, Duke, NYU, Michigan, and in terms of prestige and outcomes, is it better than Northwestern? Period.
Well,
I
it's
don't
not a
understand what
question.
Jake is saying.
It is better. Maybe I think Jake meant to write Columbia keeps moving higher, but practically it isn't significantly better.
Yeah, I'm guessing that's what Jake meant to say. Oh, but no, because then Jake says, while Northwestern may have a slightly higher big law percentage, the quality of jobs are worse than Columbia.
Okay,
Well, then why are you
so
mad about Columbia going up in the rankings?
the thing that I'm stuck on here is that Jake seems to think that the past rankings are somehow correct and the current rankings are somehow wrong.
Yeah, when the truth is,
They're just all.
all of the rankings are just sort of inherently bullshit.
There's
And
some truth to them. Obviously, those schools are better
exactly.
than the schools at the bottom, but it's like, yeah, of course. This is why we have the 2x rule, right? If a school is less than 2 times different, then there's no real difference.
Yeah, and we've been saying that for forever. That
Mm-hmm.
the if a school isn't twice as highly ranked, or if the yeah, you get the point. But there is no real difference between those schools. And even then, there's not necessarily a real difference between those schools. But
Not
rankings
necessarily.
can
Yeah.
change over time. I mean, so it's interesting. I'm looking now. We have a page, by the way, that shows historical rankings. So just that's lsatdemon.com/rankings. I hit the little filter button and I'm looking at just Columbia and Northwestern. And apparently they are now tied for 10th.
Okay.
And they kind of converged on that point. So
Hmm.
2015, Northwestern was 12th while Columbia was 4th.
Hmm.
And yeah, Columbia hasn't been rising in the rankings. Well, their numerical rank has been higher, meaning that their rank is lower. I think that's our confusion with uh, Jake's email.
Hmm.
Columbia's actually gone from 4th to 10th since 2015.
Okay.
And I think Jake's trying to say Columbia is actually a better school and they're being punished because they don't participate in the US News like survey or whatever.
Hmm.
Which maybe that's true. But the truth is everybody pays way too much attention to the rankings. So I'm not sure exactly what Jake's mad about. Are you mad? Do you think we pay too much attention to the rankings? Because we're the first to tell you that the rankings are just bullshit.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jake goes on and says, it's unfair. It's a little unfair to your students to mention WashU or Vandy like they are similar to Georgetown or Northwestern or Michigan.
Wait. Saying schools are in the top 14 suggests that there is some similarity with them. They're all highly ranked, but we're not saying that Michigan is the same as WashU.
Yeah. And also,
I,
he bizarrely throws Georgetown in the mix,
yeah,
which
which is a 14.
Georgetown has always been on the edge of the top 14, right? I mean,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
2018, Georgetown fell out of the top 14.
Mm-hmm.
Georgetown was ranked 15th in 2018. You want to guess what
Mm-hmm.
Vanderbilt was that year? 17th.
17.
You know,
Yeah.
like in the whole history of these rankings that we have, well, we only have back to 2015, but on this
Mm-hmm.
page. But on this page, Vanderbilt has ranged between a a low of 19, which by the way was last year, and a high of 14, which by the way is this year.
Yeah.
So the rankings always change because US News needs to sell magazines. I mean, think about it. They just
Yeah.
change their methodology every year and they claim, oh, we're changing our methodology because we want to make sure that we're doing the best job we can. You know, like we're constantly learning and we're innovating these new ways of ranking the law schools. Well, if one, you're not, because the rankings for a lot of these schools, the rankings barely change.
Yeah.
Two, you're making shit up. Obviously, you're not conveying any useful information because again, I'll say it again. Vanderbilt had its lowest ranking in the last 10 years last year and its highest ranking in the last 10 years this year. Students are in law school for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what to say.
Jake, thanks for listening. Thanks
Yeah.
for helping us talk about rankings so that we can get a better sense of what value they have and what value they don't have. Yeah.
I mean, I also like who is actually comparing. I just think you're doing it wrong. If you're like looking at the rankings so much that you would actually be considering WashU, Vanderbilt, Georgetown, Northwestern, and Michigan. Sure, those are different schools, different ranks, but they're also in very different places.
Mm.
And surely you want to consider the difference between Chicago and St. Louis and Nashville and DC and like that's got to be part of the equation. Who is it that's out there just only looking at the rankings? I guess there are some people who are willing to go anywhere.
Well, it's the great marketing ploy, right? So Georgetown came up with, I think, one of the deans at Georgetown came up with the T14 label, and now it has some mystical,
It makes
meaning.
sense because they've always been just right there, on the edge of the top 14, trying to hang on to the top 14.
Yeah,
Right. Well, because otherwise, why would we ever have had 14?
it's 10, dude. That's what people talk about, the top 10.
Yeah. But then you look at a school like Northwestern, and it's like, well, wait, Northwestern, which Jake seems to think is like significantly better than Vanderbilt, but not as good as Columbia.
Hmm.
But Northwestern has been mostly out of the top 10 until, yeah, I guess the last 8 years, it's been 10 or higher 6 times, but it's been exactly 10th 3 of those times. It's just so silly. I mean, it's just like Harvard, Stanford, Yale are never going to be out of the top, like, 5 or 6. All these other schools are going to be just like bouncing around in ranges. As soon
Hmm.
as you get out of the top 14, the rankings fluctuate just wildly.
Yeah, the dean gets fired. And then, yeah, who knows? You're in like shark infested waters. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you for listening, Jake. I'm not, yeah, maybe write us back and clarify what it is that we say that you think is misleading. I think if you're making decisions based on the rankings, you're making mistakes. I think it should give
slowly.
you,
Yeah.
I mean, it should give you, the rankings can help you determine, they can help you like target maybe schools to apply to, but you need to be deciding on dramatically different grounds. Okay.
Okay.
Next
Yeah.
one. This one is
Hmm.
from Narciso, and
Narciso. Okay.
and the subject is question about transferring law schools after 1L.
Hmm. Generally not a good plan. Hi, Demon Team. I had a question about transferring law schools. My undergraduate GPA isn't very strong, so I'm concerned it might limit my options when applying to law school. Because of that, I've been wondering about the strategy of starting at a lower ranked law school, performing very well during 1L, and then transferring to a higher ranked school. How feasible is this method in practice? For example, if someone started at Thurgood Marshall School of Law in Texas and then tried to transfer after their 1L year to a school like Baylor or SMU, how realistic would that be? What kind of class rank or GPA would someone typically need after 1L to make that possible? I'm trying to understand whether this is a realistic strategy to consider or if it is generally better to focus on maximizing my LSAT score and applying directly to stronger schools. The latter.
Yeah, you should never start school at a school that you're not willing to finish at because transferring is much harder than you think.
Two
I
big reasons, right? Oh, yeah, sorry, go
No,
ahead.
go ahead.
But yeah, like you're saying, transferring is harder than you think. And what the heck? You're now going to have to pay full price at the school you transfer to. They're not going to give you a scholarship.
Right.
So,
Exactly. Yeah. Price matters. And if you, yeah, when you're applying in the transfer market, it's like you're acknowledging that you're at a school that you think is
you don't
shitty
like.
and you want to go to a better school, and they're not going to have to show you the money to get you to go. This is a very, very, very bad and scary and dangerous idea.
Hmm.
Uh, Producer Jacob put a note here that says Baylor took 3 transfers in last year and SMU
Mm,
took 8 transfers in.
mm,
I'm going to dig in here to their 509. I'm going to see because it shows you what schools they actually get transfers in from.
yeah.
Oh, only if there's significant numbers of transfers in, I guess. At least on Baylor's report, I do not see that list of transfers in because again, it was
Interesting.
only 3 students.
Huh.
On SMU's report, the list of transfers in. Oh, there it is. Okay, yeah. So they took 2 from Cleveland State. They took 3 from North Texas at Dallas. They took 1 from Oklahoma, 1 from South Texas College of Law in Houston, and 1 from Tulane. So at least last year, they took 0 transfers from Thurgood Marshall School of Law.
Hmm.
Unless Thurgood Marshall School of Law. Okay, that's Texas Southern in Houston. Wait, I did say a school. No, South Texas College of Law, Houston. That's probably a different law school. Anyway, I'm not saying they don't ever take transfers from that school. Uh, but what kind of class rank would you need?
Very top.
I would say top 10% for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe top 5%, depending on how high you're trying to transfer. Um,
I think I just can't imagine paying full price anywhere. I, you know, we tell people all the time, don't pay for law school. And there are certainly offers that you're going to get where you have to pay something and it's worth it.
yeah.
But I can say pretty confidently, it's almost never, 99% of the time, it is not worth it to pay full price. And when you're talking about lower ranked schools as opposed to the top 10 or whatever, that essentially goes to 100%. Like you should never pay full price at lower ranked schools
Yeah, I
below
agree.
the
I
top
mean,
10.
unless you're made of money, you know.
Unless you're made of money. So,
If
yep.
we're talking about the Roy family and you're just literally billionaires, uh, then sure,
Sure.
whatever. Who cares? It doesn't matter. You probably at that point it flips probably pretty quickly actually.
Yeah, you're
When
actually just like willing to pay to get whatever name you can because the
when
name
yeah,
is worth more than the
the
money. Yeah.
well, because the names are worth more to you and to
Yep.
your family than it is to other people. So I could see how it would be worth it for extremely wealthy people, and it probably flips at some point in some hundreds of millions of dollars. You're just like, no, of course I want to pay the high. I want to pay.
Mm.
I definitely want to go to the most prestigious school I can get into. I
Yeah.
want, I'm gonna
Yeah.
pay full price for sure.
Yep.
Uh, but that's not the typical person. I can't imagine that that's what Narciso is interested in, right? Narciso is like trying to make a real legal career for him and his family.
Mm-hmm.
And he's also talking about pretty mundane law schools. Not that there's anything wrong with these schools, but Narciso thinks I can't get into Baylor or SMU. Those must be like super killer good law schools, but they're not. They're fine. They're like okay regional schools. Truth about Baylor is they give 7% of their class stipends to even attend. They give another 20% of their class full tuition and full fees. They give another 29% of their class more than a 50% tuition discount. The truth about Baylor is that only 3% of their class pays full tuition. And if you try to scrape your way in, transfer your way into Baylor, you're going to be one of those people paying full price, just donating money to the 31 other kids there who are getting a paycheck to go to school. And by the way, those people who are getting a paycheck to go there had a better LSAT than you, better GPA than you. They're probably just better at school than you are. And now you're going to be competing with them for jobs? You'd be getting like the worst outcomes from Baylor if you did do this. So yeah, get a full ride or get a huge discount to Thurgood Marshall or wherever else you end up going, or just don't go at all.
Hey, on that donation point,
Yeah.
I have kids who do scouting. So every year they do this food drive.
Uh-huh.
They go around the neighborhood, they ask people for cans of food.
Uh-huh.
And obviously, a lot of times people say yes. A lot of times people say no. Either they're too busy or they don't have stuff to donate.
Uh-huh.
But if you had all, if you, if you thought about saying no to that because you don't have food to donate, but then you go to law school and pay full price, you're donating astronomical sums that don't even compare to a fucking can of food.
And you're donating to rich people instead of donating to poor people. I mean,
Yeah,
the people who get these scholarships tend to
yeah,
be richer, whiter. Like that's why they have higher LSAT, higher GPA to begin with.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, law school pricing is what do we call it? It's a regressive cross subsidy from the poor to the rich.
Yep.
And that's why we say don't pay for law school. Next up,
Cool.
personal
Yeah.
statement gong show. Sally is going after Blake's record. Blake, we made it 14 lines through Blake's personal statement. And so Sally's goal here is to try to get more than 4 lines. Should we read Sally's email or should we go straight into the...
I'd say we read it after.
Okay.
Do you agree?
I agree.
Okay. Do you want me to read it?
Sure.
Okay, the header is not quite what it needs to be. You have your name, your LSAC account number, and then the title, personal statement, all scrunched together. I believe you just want to put that in one line in the
Yeah, why
header
not?
instead of 3 lines.
Save space, yeah.
Okay, first paragraph. Gathered in the wardroom aboard the USS, some ship name, sat some of the most senior officers across the San Diego waterfront, observing as I briefed procedures for the Navy's first amphibious combat vehicle, ACV, certification in over 2 years.
Start with the good. I like that you're telling me, like, I'm right away, I'm seeing you as some kind of big shot.
Yeah, you're serious. You're a professional. You have a job that people depend on you for.
Yep. Also, that sentence sucks.
It's long.
It's twisted. It's so convoluted. Why does it start with gathered in the wardroom? Who's gathered in the wardroom? Because then later you get to the verb sat.
Yeah, it's really bad too, because then after the comma you say comma observing.
So there's like 3 different, there's like a past tense verb gathered, a present tense verb sat. Oh no, that's actually also past tense sat. And then a present tense verb observing.
They sat observing.
They're gathered to sit observing. And instead, you should be the star of the show. It should just be like, I briefed some of the most senior officers on procedures for the Navy's first amphibious combat vehicle.
Yeah,
or
and
whatever.
you could say on the ship or on this ship, I briefed procedures, blah, blah, blah. This whole like across the San Diego waterfront, like unnecessary.
It's terrible. I mean, I bet Sally spent so much time on that. You know, I can see how hard you're working, but you're working too hard. Like I want it to look effortless. There's too many words in that sentence. It's just too long. There's too much going on. You got to pick your verbs. It's a great start.
You're not
content.
even the subject of the sentence.
No. The subject of the sentence is some of the most senior officers across the San Diego waterfront. That's the subject of the sentence.
Yep.
Some of the most senior officers across the San Diego waterfront is the subject of the sentence. What are they doing? Well, they're gathered and observing and sitting.
Sorry. Mm-hmm. Okay. This is about you. Yeah.
Write shorter sentences and just make I the subject of the sentences and make them just write in a clearer, more direct manner instead of this like twisted, tortured thing that you got going on here.
Yeah. Also, just a general rule of thumb, this is super common in legal writing, but you have amphibious combat vehicle, and then you put in parentheses ACV. And I see that you refer to ACVs later in your statement. And so you're like, hey, I had to define ACV up front. No, you don't actually. What you can do is you can just say amphibious combat vehicle, And then throughout your statement, you can talk more naturally. You can just say these vehicles. That's what we do in regular speech.
Yeah.
And it can save a lot of headache because even though it's obvious to you what an ACV is, some people are going to go back to that. And then you have another defined word in the next sentence. And so the more defined terms you have, the more that the reader has to learn
Yeah.
as opposed to just reading.
And to make it worse, I just scanned the statement. She never goes back to this next defined word. So she wastes
So
our time
definitely don't
by
need that.
giving us the initialism of this next thing and then doesn't refer to it again. It's just military writing. This is very common in people from the forces. Like, this is just how they teach you to write, I guess. But you don't need to write this way it's just not clear communication. So just don't.
Yep. Next sentence, as an ensign surface warfare officer, parentheses, SWO, a commissioned naval officer with less than 2 years of service, comma, the execution of my role was both essential to the mission and integral to my career progression. Okay, that's a broken sentence. Your subject is the execution of my role, which is totally abstract, but also inconsistent with the phrases that tried to define it. They were defining you, not the execution.
Yeah. Like, it's not Gong worthy.
It's pretty close.
It is pretty close because, yeah, it's like all you've done is name drop a bunch of these initialisms. About what, by the way? Amphibious combat vehicle? Why do I give a shit? And some you gave me the technical definition of what a ensign surface warfare officer is. What is that? Oh, it's a commissioned naval officer with less than 2 years of service. I don't care. I care about you and what you actually did. 2 sentences now, and the first sentence had a subject of some of the most senior officers across the San Diego waterfront. They're sitting and observing and gathering. In the second sentence, the subject of the sentence is the execution of my role. And what's the verb? The verb is to be. The verb is was. The execution of my role was. What? What did you actually do, though?
It's also just a conclusion. What was the execution of your role? Oh, it was both essential to the mission, according to you, and integral to my career progression, according to you. Like,
yeah, it's an example of how that verb to be is almost inherently telling. You're always just going to be telling when you say is, was, were, here was, right? X was Y. Yeah, according to you. What did you do? Choose a more active verb. Choose a vibrant verb and show yourself doing something.
Man, this is tough because this second sentence, well, your first sentence is broken. Your second sentence is broken. I could see so many reviewers just saying 2 grammar mistakes in the first 2 sentences. If they were at all on the fence, it's over. If you're like, oh, I'm debating between multiple people, you can't write, lawyers write.
Yeah. Not good. One more sentence?
Sure. The last time a ship had conducted this evolution, 8 Marines and 1 Navy sailor lost their lives off the coast of San Clemente Island. Period.
What evolution?
Yeah. What evolution?
I guess she's referring to the amphibious combat vehicle getting certified. She's saying that this is the evolution of a new, like, vehicle.
So the certification resulted in death?
Well, because they, like, basically deployed a new vehicle
that was broken.
I guess.
Okay, I think what Sally is trying to do is show the stakes, I guess.
Uh-huh.
Fair enough.
I'd go ahead and cut everything so far. I don't think she's doing herself any favors. I would cut, cut, cut until we get to some action that shows what's actually happening. I mean, Sally hasn't done anything so far. I mean, she apparently is briefing procedures, but we didn't hear any more about that. She just like left that. Then she like defined her title, I guess.
Hey, what do you think of this definition of the title? When it says less than 2 years of service, I felt like this reduced her prestige
Of
or her
course.
experience. At first,
Yeah,
I
I
was
don't
like,
know
"Oh, damn,
why.
your percent." Yeah,
I never cared. I don't know why any reader cares to begin with.
yeah.
Why is that even in this? But yes, it does just diminish. Oh, really? A commissioned naval officer with less than 2 years of service? So, like, that's the title you get on day one?
You're new.
Why are you sharing that with me? Like, what did you do? Get to it. One more sentence.
Leading the small boat team, I was responsible for repeatedly coordinating launches of 8 to 12 ACVs from our moving vessel and ensuring their safe transit ashore.
Okay. I'm going to suggest that that might be the basis for a good first sentence because you're showing yourself in action doing something. It also is a shitty sentence, and I want to ring the gong there on one again. It's the same writing tip, but I'm going to give it again, and this is a really good example of it. She could have said, I coordinated launches of 8 to 12 ACVs, blah, 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 and ensured safe transit ashore.
By the way,
Again,
just pick a number, not 8 to 12.
yeah, whatever it is. But I coordinated launches is like, oh shit. Like, that's no joke. That's leadership with high stakes. You're coordinating launches of boats from like a naval aircraft or naval wherever. I mean, whatever it is, like you're showing yourself to be a leader with the topic, with the subject here. The idea here is a good idea. The sentence itself, the twisted, tortured construction around the verb to be. Here, she says, leading the small boat team, I was responsible for. So now I's the subject, but the verb is was. I was. And so now you're just like telling me you had such a good opportunity here to just be like, tell me
To
the
show.
story of
Yeah.
I coordinated launches. I led the team. Not I was responsible for, or even worse, which you did in the first paragraph, the execution of my role was. You know, like just piling on layers of abstraction to keep yourself from being the star of the show. Anything more
This is
for Sally?
yeah, a small thing, but a hyphen here I think would be helpful. Leading the small hyphen boat team so that you clarify that we're talking about small boats instead of a boat team that's small.
Yeah, I agree. We made it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 lines. I think you've got a lot of. I think you're a great candidate, Sally, to be honest. I mean, I think at most law schools, you're already in based on your LSAT and GPA, or you're already out on your LSAT and GPA. If you're on the fence, or if you're already in based on LSAT and GPA and they read this, I don't think they're keeping you out of law school because of this. You know,
No, they're
it's
going to
sort of
say
like
you're a
reality check.
professional. Yeah.
Yeah, professional person, military person, everything else we can take care of. No big deal, right? So
Yeah.
it's funny because on the one hand, I think it doesn't matter at all, and this is going to be totally fine. Like there's not going to be anything objectionable in here. It's just you don't look like you're a great writer. Most people aren't great writers, especially at like mundane law schools. You know, it's fine.
Yep.
Everybody thinks they can write. Nobody can actually write, and that's not surprising. But if you were on the fence, and if you were, you know, at your schools where you're gonna necessarily be like a stretch to get
Your
in.
reach schools? Yeah.
Yeah, at the whatever top schools that you're applying to. If it comes down to you and someone else, and they can only take one of you, this writing is bad enough that it might keep you out.
Totally. So what you're describing, I think, is the numbers create an environment where the school is either looking for reasons to accept you.
Uh-huh.
They love your numbers. They're just like, okay, we want to accept this person. We want to make sure they just don't have any
It's
red
like do our
flags.
due diligence, right? Just like we're going to admit them, we're going to read their personal statement, and as long as it's not like obscene or saying crazy shit, they're in.
They're in.
And this is
So
fine. This clears
they
that
would
hurdle easily.
easily, they read the first sentence. They're like, oh, yeah, I already kind of knew they were military, but yeah, okay, I see they have responsibility. Other people trust them. We'll trust them.
They
In.
check the box. They feel like, oh, hey, LSAT and GPA, they've done all the application things they need to do. We need more people like this. We need more people with her numbers. And there's no red flags here. They spend 60 seconds and they check, yep, read the personal statement.
They accept you, right? But then there are these other schools that you're talking about, these reach schools, where they're actually looking for reasons to cut you because
Yeah.
they have to decide between 10 people and they can only get to take 2 of them into their lifeboats.
Yep.
And they're like, okay, let's look for reasons to cut. I know this person's military. I know they're LSAT and GPA, but boy, they can't write. You're cut. And this would cut you.
I would think so. Yeah. Because,
Yep.
if they're comparing you against someone who has similar numbers, similar background, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they're just looking for, yeah, we literally have to deny one of these two people.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I could certainly see some people reading this writing and just going, oh man, that's like just not doing a good job of communicating. Lawyers communicate. Lawyers largely communicate in writing. This is not good writing. So again, I think it literally doesn't matter for like 9 out of the 10 schools that you'll apply to. A
If you
couple of
apply
them might,
smartly, yeah. Mm-hmm.
well, a couple of them might just deny you based on your numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And a bunch of them are going to want to admit you based on your numbers. And they read this wanting to admit you. There's no reason why they're not going to admit you.
Yeah.
But at the one school out of 10 where you're just right on the cusp, I would recommend that, maybe you go get some editing help and just make sure that it's written clearly. Like, I don't want them to take these sentences and like just fix them. I want them to like blow it up and start over with just a more direct style of writing. It's almost like I'm suggesting that you just have someone write it for you. I don't know, but boy, couldn't you put this into Grammarly or ChatGPT or Claude or whatever and say, hey, improve my writing?
Yeah, totally. Well, and to your point about the idea of just blowing it up, because it's like you want to focus on you doing stuff. I just noticed one other thing here. It says, as a young female officer in a male dominated organization, my work was often evaluated through a sharper lens. That might be true, but it's a conclusion and it's going to just, it's going to be very hard to prove. I wouldn't focus on that.
I wouldn't focus on it either. They know that you're a female. I'm sure that they know that that's how it is, especially in in certain environments, certain macho environments.
Mm-hmm.
I would rather focus on your wins instead of like complaining.
It's complaining. That's unfortunately how it's going to land, even if that's not what you intended.
Leave that out of it. You're leading a team of boats. Like people's lives are on the line. Why do you need to bring up my work is evaluated sharper? People might die. Hopefully they're not going to die in this story. So yeah, I think you could leave the gender stuff out of it. All right. Thank you, Sally. Blake is still the record holder, 14 lines in season 3. Send us your personal statements if you want. That's at thinkinglsat.com or help@thinkinglsat.com if you would like to participate in future versions of the Personal Statement Gong Show. Time for Word of the Week?
We should, although let's read this email from Sally really quick because her writing is so much better here.
Not surprising. because here she's just going to write conversationally
Yeah.
instead of like she really tortured herself.
Mm-hmm.
That's just one word that I think of when I read writing like this. It's what you would refer to as tortured writing. I want to actually
Yeah.
look up tortured because in that context, I feel like it's a different.
Yeah. What is that? You have tortured yourself?
I just think it means twisted.
Hmm.
Yeah, from late Middle English in the sense distortion or twisting, or a physical order characterized by this.
Hmm.
From late Latin tortura, which means twisting or torment. Oh, from the Latin torcere, which means to twist. And that's
Twisted.
basically what this is. It's like it goes, and I bet it's like the more she worked on it, the worse it got
Mm-hmm.
because it's just not conversational writing, right? It- and that comes back to one of your great tips about writing, which is print it out, read it out loud. Because the second you read it out loud, you're like, what the? What
Yeah.
am I even saying?
Yeah.
Okay, so Sally's email.
Sure. Says, hi, Ben and Nathan. This is my entry for the personal statement Gong Show. Period. Great. Short sentence. I love listening to your podcast, and I believe the Gong Show portion has significantly improved my personal statement draft. That being said, I'm trying to balance making all this about me, duh, with preventing it, that's her, duh, with preventing it from coming off as overly braggadocious or a sob story. I am also cognizant that due to being a veteran, it's likely the jargon does not translate well. Looking forward to hearing your feedback. Thanks again for all you do. Best avid listener going by Sally.
Write your personal statement more like that, Sally.
Yeah, yeah.
Shorter sentences, conversational.
I sentences.
I is the subject of several of those sentences, and that's great because it's easy to read. Um, maybe our Gong Show helped you pick topics, and that's great. But it didn't help with the writing. You got to work on that writing. You got to go back to a more conversational, just simpler tone.
Mm-hmm.
You're right that the jargon doesn't translate well, so you can cut that out. I don't think you need to worry about seeming braggadocious. I agree that you should definitely keep it away from being like a sob story, but you're supposed to be putting your best foot forward. So why wouldn't you focus on your achievements? That's not bragging. That's the assignment. They're giving you an opportunity to sell yourself to the school. So the best way to sell yourself to the school is to just show, not tell, show yourself doing cool stuff. But write it more like this, not like what you submitted. All right, now word of the week.
Yeah, let's do it. This was suggested by team member Matt from test 118. The word is ascetic.
Ascetic. The quote here is not from test 118 because we are prohibited by LSAC license from talking about their questions publicly. But we do have a quote here from, apparently, this is from Peter Bart writing in GQ in August of 1997. And I'll read the quote to you. Word of the week again is ascetic. By Hollywood's by Hollywood standards, Callie's career path may seem enigmatic, but then so is his personality. If Mark Canton, the previous Sony president, was was the boastful Armani-clad big spender, Callie is downright ascetic, a man who disdains Hollywood profligacy.
There's potentially a couple words in there for people, but it obviously sounds like a contrast, right? So Callie is being contrasted with Canton.
Good. Yeah, exactly.
And it says if Mark Canton, the previous Sony president. So that suggests to me that Callie is the new Sony president. Canton, the previous one, was boastful, wore Armani suits, and spent a lot of money. Okay,
Yep.
Callie is downright ascetic. That sounds like someone who is basic, right? Like they just
Yeah.
wear cheap. What is it? What is that? The Men's Warehouse suits or something like that, or maybe not even a suit.
Florsheim. I was reading about President Trump. Apparently, he's been giving people shoes. He's been giving people Florsheim shoes, which I don't, Florsheim, it's not a fancy brand of shoe. Apparently they have shoes that cost dress shoes that cost $145, which is, not a lot of money for for the president of the United States, right? I imagine that presidents have spent a hell of a lot more than $145 on shoes. And apparently Trump and everyone else in his, Trump, who no one would describe as ascetic, but he is maybe making ascetic choices with regard to the footwear that he loves. Apparently, they're really comfortable.
Thanks, Trump.
But anyway, yeah, I think you did a great job there getting this from context. Even though I think a lot of people would be really intimidated by enigmatic, they might be intimidated by profligacy, but you saw through all that and you said, well, wait a second. The second sentence here is definitely contrasting the ascetic Callie to the boastful, Armani-clad, big spender Canton. So ascetic must be the opposite of boastful. Humble? The opposite of Armani?
Yeah.
Florsheim?
Yeah.
The opposite of big spender? Cheap. So I'm imagining, I bet Gandhi was ascetic. Somebody who wore like a robe and sandals? That's ascetic, right?
Yeah.
Let's look up this definition. Practicing strict self-denial as a measure of personal and especially spiritual discipline. Yeah. So you can have an ascetic monk. I mean, it might even go without saying that monks are ascetic. Yeah. Ascetic, not aesthetic. Ascetic. 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 You can have an ascetic diet.
Sounds like limited rice, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose your aesthetic could be that you're ascetic.
Clever.
Right? If your whole style is aesthetic means style, right? So if your style is really humble, then you have an ascetic aesthetic.
Hey, this suit story or this suit sentence or whatever reminds me of this random joke. When I was like 5 years old, right? Or I don't know how old I was. I was really young. My family went to church and my friend Todd and I had to sit through church and we of course got bored really quick. So we joked around a lot.
Same.
And there was an ad at the time by some company, and this is how it just embedded in my memory. The company name was CNR. And in the ad, this one guy looks at this other guy and he points at him. He goes, "Nice suit, CNR." And so he's asking is that where you got the suit? Anyways, so Todd and I were little kids, right? And we had to wear suits to church because you had to dress up. And we just couldn't stop looking at each other and pointing and being like, "Nice suit, CNR." And we'd start laughing. We were on the floor. And so then the teacher would have to take us out to the hallway. And then all we could do is just keep that same joke going because we out in the hallway be like, "Nice suit, dude. Yeah, CNR."
CNR.
So, anyways, yeah.
You got to do what you got to do to find some entertainment when you're a little kid stuck in church. I know that very well. If you want to catch up on all of our words of the week, you can go to lsat.link/wow. You can be LSAT famous by asking us questions or sharing news with us on our website, thinkinglsat.com, or find us on the socials. We're at lsatdemon. Questions about the LSAT Demon, you can email our amazing help team. They are help@lsatdemon.com. Check out our other podcast, LSAT Demon Daily. Thousands of episodes by now of the LSAT Demon Daily. That was episode 550 of the Thinking LSAT podcast. Thanks all y'all for listening. Nice knowing you. Don't pay for law school.